How many people feel confident? Oh, yes, Toby?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, okay. It's written on here. I must have been doing it with another class. So you guys had to do this one too. All right. Well, there it is. How many people are... So I'm going to erase that, and we'll talk about it. There we go. All right. So some of you saw the answer while it was up there. That's cool. No problem. If you are one of those people, don't say anything to the question I'm about to ask. How many people in the room are confident, if they attempted any of their work, with their answer to the volume of this cereal box? Confident, if you didn't see the answer. Good. Okay. Remember, since it is only one shape, it only has one calculation, yes? And the calculation is, as it always is for a prism, the area of the base times the height. Now, we have talked to death about what constitutes a base, yes? Who chooses what the base is? If there is more than one option. You do. Could the base of this box be the yellow rectangle? It could, couldn't it? So what would be the area of that yellow rectangle? The way we've drawn it there. Don't look at your paper, use mine. Then you can apply stuff across all the possibilities. If you choose this yellow one as the base, what is the area of that yellow rectangle right now? Don't give me the area. Tell me what you would do to find it. 40 times 24, correct? Excellent. What if you used the blue? What would the base be? 40 times 8. What if you used the green? 24 times 8. Is there any other possibility? No. So every single one of you who attempted this problem has one of these three written for area of the base, yes? Mm-hmm. Excellent. What is the height if I use the yellow triangle? 40. Again, what is height? Height is the direction the base repeats. I cannot stress this enough. You must change your thinking from height being up and down. And I've given you a million examples as to why. If I stand up, I am 5 feet 7.5 inches tall. Because the ground under my feet to the top of my head is 5 feet 7 inches. If you lock your brain into height being from the bottom to the top, then if I lie down in my bed, all of a sudden, I am as tall as my fat belly. I am not. Right? It is not what height is. Is everybody good?
We have to think of it on its side.
Yep. 8. What would the height be if I used the blue one? 24, because the blue base moves that way. The yellow base moves that way. What direction does the green base move? Down, because you can see the green and it repeats downwards. So what is the height for the green one? 40. Now, all of those will give you the same answer. Why? Because multiplication is commutative. 5 times 2 is the same as 2 times 5. So what is the answer here? 7,680 centimeters cubed.
Are you thinking of it on its side where the 40 is on the bottom?
You could think of it that way. But that's why I'm saying I do not use the word bottom. Base is the shape from which you choose to start.
So the 8 with the arrow going this way where
That, if that was how you were measuring it, then the cereal box would look like, 1 second, Ethan, that. Because that rectangle, which is 8 by 40, is repeating this way until it gets to this side. That is the blue one. That is the yellow one. That is the green one. So the green could be the base on the bottom or the base here, because that shape repeats all the way out to here this many times. Ethan, hit me.
Why is it centimeters cubed instead of centimeters squared?
Good question. That's get out of my head. That's what I was about to say. Y is volume cubed and surface area squared. We know surface area is squared because surfaces only have two dimensions, right? But volume cares not only about this rectangle, but about this rectangle and about this rectangle. So it has three dimensions, so it must be cubed. Cool? Jeremy.
Wouldn't it be easier to say the thing is side area by depth?
It would be if you were in a situation like this, but let me ask you this, Jeremy, and this is the problem with number with F, the last thing I asked you to do. What if I gave you this shape like a mailbox?
Oh.
Then this is the side area, correct?
No.
Isn't that the side of a mailbox? Isn't it?
Point.
Okay. So now wait. So if the side area times the depth, I could do that, couldn't I? Except, how do I find the area of this curvy side? Picking up what I'm putting down? That's why we leave it as area of base, because it always works. Now, can you do a shortcut if it works? Could you, in this case, use side area times the depth? Would that work? Absolutely. Now let me ask you this. 40, 24, and 8, which is the depth?
The one leading away from the side.
Okay.
Which is what you're calling a height in your situation.
Yeah. Okay. So right now, this is the cereal box. You're calling that the depth.
Mm-hmm.
Now what's the depth?
From what's facing to the back.
Absolutely correct. I agree with you 100%. But this 8 was the depth, and now it's 40. Understand what I'm saying?
Just like how 8 was the height and now it's 40.
Yes.
It's the same thing.
It is the same thing, except if you do what you're doing, as is evidenced by the mailbox question, it might not always work. Okay? And you'll see what I mean in 5 or 10 minutes. I'll give you an example of when what you said will make things difficult. Cool? Okay. Now, let's go on to this guy. He's a pyramid, yeah? We know what a pyramid is. We know a pyramid is related to a prism. So we know we start with area of the base. I know we used a lot of space here. That's why I said you might need to do these on a separate piece of paper. Now, area of base times height, if it were a prism, yes? But we know that a pyramid comes to a point, right? So if I finished this prism off, what is all this? Inside. Nothing. It's empty space, yes? And the pyramid doesn't take up the whole prism, right? And through experimentation, we know that a pyramid is always 1/3 of the volume of its prism. Okay? So it's the same math, except when we get a final answer, we're going to divide it by 3. Everybody cool? So, what is the base? And remember, base does not mean bottom. What is the shape from which this pyramid began? It is that square of 32 by 32, yes? So it is 32 by 32. Now, I need what? The height of the pyramid or the slant height of the pyramid?
The height of the slant, the pyramid.
You just said both answers.
You said nothing.
Do I need the height of the pyramid from the bottom to the point, or do I need up the side?
The side, the bottom to the top.
Bottom to the top, because I'm caring about the inside of the pyramid this time, yes?
Yeah, not the other side.
So I need the actual height, which in this case was 65, yes? Right from the question, right?
Yeah.
That's going to give me an answer. Now what do I do with that answer? I divide that by 3. Now, if you were going to show me your work and you were going to wish divided by 3, how would you punch that into your calculator?
32 times 32 times 65 divided by 3.
And get
22,186
186.6 feet squared, or cubed, because we're doing volume now. Yes?
Is that right?
Now listen to me. I'm going to give you a math gift. In this question, your calculator works to go 32 times 32 times 65 divided by 3, because your calculator understands bed mass. Okay? But if there are any other operations, your calculator will give you the wrong answer, because your calculator only understands bed mass. It is not your BFF. It has not spent so much time with you that it understands what you mean, right? It doesn't. It can only do what you tell it to do. So you have to be careful. Always, even when it works, use brackets. If you ever have something divided by something and there is more than one thing.
Okay.
Always. So if this down here was 3 times 7, you should put brackets around both of them. Does everybody understand?
Yeah, so then what are the brackets used for?
They keep it grouped together.
Okay.
And the reason I ask you this, or the reason I tell you this, and you don't need to write this down. If I gave you this, 2 plus 3 times 4 divided by 7, if you punch that into your calculator, 2 plus 3 times 4 divided by 7, you're going to get a weird answer. You're going to get 3.714, right? But the answer is what really? 2. 12 plus 2 is 14 divided by 7 is 2. How would you do this on your calculator? You would look. There's more than one thing in the numerator, so you would bracket it. Everybody cool?
Press the bracket.
Always get in that habit. Then you will never not do it when you need to. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because even though in this question you didn't need to, you may forget. Is everybody cool?
Now it gives me 2 with the bracket.
Right, because you put the brackets in.
We could have solved that.
Yeah, I know you could have, but in math there's going to be weirder numbers and bigger equations. All right, next one. A cone. What's a cone? Pyramid or prism? Pyramid. Because it comes to a point. And we know that every pyramid is area of base times the height divided by what? 3. What's the base in a cone? It's a circle. How do I find the area of a circle? Pi r squared. So this is pi r squared h divided by 3. If I write it down, is it possible to do it wrong? Well, the base is, what is the base, Ariana? Don't say bottom. Don't say circle, because in this case it's a circle. What is the base every time? Zach, tell us. The shape that you start with. You can't have a cone without a circle to start with. So the circle is the base. Now, if you write it down, is it possible to do it wrong? It's not, is it? Pi, what's the radius of this thing? It's right in the question. What's the radius? 15 squared. What's the height? It's right in the question. 22. And then that whole answer is divided by 3. Right? Everybody understand? It's going to give you a weird number. I don't know what it is because I'm not doing that in my head. Because I am about the math. To calculate that out, you're going to have to punch all that in. It's going to be... It's going to be 1,650 pi or 5,183.63. I don't care which one you do.
Is it because you pressed the pi button after?
Yep. You would round that to 6 or 5184. I don't care. Would I care if you told me this was 32,778.73?
No, what?
If you showed me none of this and just that, am I happy? No. If you show me all of this and then you get that, what does that tell me? You're bad with your calculator. And that is easily fixed, isn't it? Okay? Cylinder. What is it? Pyramid or prism? Prism. So it is area of the base times the height. Any division? No, because it's a prism. What's the base of a circle? Quiet, Harsh. What's the base of a cylinder? Circle. So it's pi r squared h. Pi, what's r? 5 squared. What's height? 20. What's 5 squared? Times 20. 500 pi. If you don't like 500 pi, you hit 500 times pi on your calculator and you get something like 1600. I don't remember exactly what it is. What? 1570? 1600 is pretty close. Point blah. Do I care about the blah? No, just like on Hotel Transylvania. I don't say blah, 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 blah. Why did you divide what by 2? Because that's the diameter, and you need the radius.
Okay.
Everybody cool? All right. Now, I am assuming that the majority of you, if you did any work for me, you stopped there. I am betting you did not do much on this page. So, stop, and we are going to do just B, and then I'm going to give you a chance to go and look at D and F and see if you can figure them out. Everybody cool? All right. Now, I can think of 2 ways to do B. One of them will always work, and one of them is a shortcut that will work in this case. Who has an idea for how to do B? I didn't ask you to do B, so everybody is on the same spot right now. What would you do to tell me the volume of B? Zach. Okay, so Zach says, hey, wait a minute. Isn't that this prism cut in half?
Yeah.
Isn't it? And a prism is just length times width times height, correct? And then what would you do? Divide by 2 because that's half of it, right? Now, will that work with every single prism, or will it only work with a triangle prism?
Triangle.
It will only work with a triangle prism that has a 90 degree, yes? Because if I give you this one, that kind of triangle prism, you can't do length times width times height, can you?
Why?
Because you don't have a width or a height. You just have this is 8 and this is 10. So you couldn't do this move, could you? So does it work here? Is it perfectly acceptable to use? Can you use it every time? Who makes the decision of if you can use that shortcut here or not? You do, if you understand what is going on, right? Now, has your favorite math teacher given you a way that will always work? Well, let's check. First of all, 6 times 8 times 7 divided by 2 is what? It's a 6. This is what Zach wants to do. And it works here. Do that on your calculator. Tell me what you get. I think it's 168.
We have to do the brackets.
Everybody cool? No. Everybody cool? And Zach's method works just fine, because I'm telling you that's the right answer. Everybody good?
168.
Okay, now, your favorite math teacher tells you that every single prism is what?
Rectangle.
No.
Area of the base times the height.
Area of the base
Okay.
times the height. And the base is the shape from which I start. What shape starts this? What is the shape that repeats? Does that rectangle repeat anywhere? No, there's only one of them. Does this bottom rectangle repeat anywhere? No, there's only one of them. Does this back rectangle repeat anywhere? No, there's only one of them. Does this triangle repeat? It does. So what's the base? This triangle, yes?
6 times 8.
Which is 6 times 8. But since it's a triangle, what do we got to do? Divide by 2. And then what is the height? The direction that triangle repeats. Where does the triangle repeat? That way. How far? 7. Punch that into your calculator. 6 times 8 is 48 divided by 2 times 7. 24 times 7. What do you get?
Whoa, really fast.
You get 168. Right? Which one, pink or green, always works? Pink. What did I actually do? I found the shape that repeats. I called it the base, and I multiplied it by the height. Everybody cool? Now go to D. What you now know, apply it. Is that a prism? Which means, what is its volume? D is not a pyramid. It doesn't go to a point. What is every prism? Area of the base times the height. What is the base? The shape that repeats.
The square.
Where do you see a shape that repeats?
4 and 12, though. 4.
If I turned this thing around, would the back look just like the front?
Yes.
So what's the base?
12 and 4.
Right?
12.
Is that, right now I'm looking at it this way, Ariana is looking at it from here. Here's Ariana. Does she see the same thing that I see?
Yeah.
Does Joseph see what Ariana and I see? No. Joseph is looking at it from the side. What does Joseph see?
The steps.
He sees 2 squares, doesn't he? Because he can't see that roof, because he's looking at it straight from the side. Joseph only sees 2 squares, whereas Ariana and I see 1, 2, 3, 4. So what's the base?
12.
The part that I've shaded in, correct? That's the base. Agreed? So, what is the area of that shape?
12.
This part is what? 12 times 4, which is what? 48. Is that visible on the blue? What is this part? Which is what? 16. So what is the area of that base? 48 times 16? 48 plus 16, which is what?
64.
64. Now I got to multiply by the height. What's the height? Don't give me a number. What is the height? The direction the base repeats. What direction do I have to go for me to end up with a shape that looks just like this? If I go up, will it work? No. If I go down, will it work? No. If I go that way, will it work? Yes, because Ariana is seeing that. So what do I multiply by? 4. And what is the answer? 256. Everybody agree? Now, could we do this another way? Could we find this volume and then find this volume and add it? Yes. Will that work every single time? No. Does this work every single time? Yes. Which way is better to know? This slightly longer way that always works, or a million different shortcuts for every single different shape I might possibly ever give you? If you want to learn a million different ways, little ways to do something. So every problem you come to, you got to go through all million and say, no, I don't need that one, I don't need that one, I need that one. Or do you want to say, I need that? Right? Let's pretend you were building something. Would it be easier to build this entire school using one type of screw?
No.
It would, wouldn't it? Then you would carry one screwdriver and you could build the whole school. Would that be useful? In reality, how many types of screws are there?
Like a million?
Millions. How many of you have ever picked up a toolkit with a multi-bit screwdriver in it? Which is easier? Grabbing the first screwdriver you see and being able to fix something? Or sitting there looking through your toolbox? Which do you want to do, Dan?
Looking through your toolbox.
You want to grab the one that always works, right? There you go. Now have a look at F and try to do F now, because ain't nobody tried F on their own. Oh, okay. See if you can do F, because what I have just given you makes F infinitely easier. So think about what you're being asked to do. While I didn't record for a while. So I don't know when I stopped recording, but I'll show you the page again. There it is. Yeah, probably. So this isn't here, but you can see it's quite plain there, yes? It's been recorded. It's on YouTube. The base is the yellow part. It's the rectangle plus the triangle times the height.
How many subscribers do you have?
176, which is odd, considering I have 120 new students every year. You would think it would go up or stay the
You
same.
have other people from around the world
I
listening
do.
to your mouth.
I do.
How many views do you usually
Not many,
Okay.
which is also sad, because also when I give a test, all of you are going to be in here. Oh, you go too fast in class. Maybe if you could just pause for a second so I could think. Oh, okay. Video. All right. Up until now, the shapes we've been dealing with have been built of two-dimensional shapes, yes? Two-dimensional shapes are easy. We can always draw a net. And when I say draw a net, that's not a girl with pigtails and sunglasses. A net, get it? The girl that you can't go fishing without?
Annette? So the girl's name is Annette?
No.
I'm sorry.
No. A net is that two-dimensional shape thing. I've used it before. A cube is really just that, right? fold it up, it makes a cube. That is what a net is. Spheres do not have a net. You cannot turn them into a something flat. Because what is a sphere?
Just like mass full of volume or something?
You're on the right track.
Circle full of...
It's a circle spun infinitely in every possible direction, yes?
It doesn't have corners.
It's got no corners, so you can't unfold it. So the only reason we have these formulas is from experimentation. Okay? This one you already know how to do it. 4 pi r squared. You know what 4 is, you know what pi is, you know what r is. Because through experimentation with spheres and wrapping them up in things and measuring what you wrapped it up in, this, through infinite experiments, is what people have come up with.
They just thought they found 4.
Well, it has to be pi. It has to be r squared because it's a circle, and then 4. Amazingly, when you multiply the r squared by 4, you get the surface area of a sphere.
And the 3?
I'm getting to that.
Okay. Yeah.
This scares a great many of you
Yes.
because you do not like that fraction.
No, I don't.
However, this is the same as 4 pi r cubed, all divided by 3. Now that shouldn't scare any of you. Because what would you do on your calculator? You would do 4 pi r squared, and then what?
Word.
Divided by 3.
Where do you get the R from?
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, cubed. The r is the radius. It depends on the sphere with which you are dealing.
Where does the R...
There's no r on your calculator because it depends on the sphere. If your sphere is this big, your r is the radius.
Right.
So it changes.
So whatever that number is you push?
Yes.
And then you push the X3?
If you have the x3 button, not everybody does.
And that's...
Now, there's a sphere, yes? Now we got to think.
Whoa, English. Guts to think.
What would a hemisphere be?
Half a sphere?
Half a sphere. So what would you do to this to find out the surface area of a hemisphere?
2 pi R squared.
2 pi r squared, right? Makes perfect sense, doesn't it? You're wrong.
Oh, well, thanks.
It's all right. Again, this is a situation where automatically you think you know what you're doing, but you got to think about it. If I have a sphere, and there is the drawing of a sphere, agreed?
Yeah.
That's how we have to draw, because you can't draw in 3D, yeah? That whole thing would be 4 pi r squared, right? But I only want half a sphere, don't I?
Yeah.
So there is half a sphere, agreed?
Yeah.
Surface area of a sphere is the outside, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the 4 pi r squared was everything that was outside, yeah? But that's gone now. So the 4 pi r squared only gives me this, doesn't it? Divided by 2. What did I just make when I cut that sphere open? Another circle. What is the area of that blue? What's the area of every circle? Pi r squared. So 2 pi r squared, but I made a new circle. So I got 2 pi r squareds and 1 more pi r squared. So what is it? 3 pi r squared. 2 pi r squareds plus 1 is 3.
Okay.
Right? Now, think before you answer. What is the surface area of a hollow hemisphere?
1 or no? 4, 6, 5.
I'm just going to have a sip of my water while you think. For 1 minute, talk to your neighbor. Tell me the formula for the surface area of a hollow hemisphere.
It would be
Go.
the same thing. It's just 4 pi r squared.
I don't even need a minute. Why is it 4 pi r squared?
Because now there's 2 sides.
Now there's 2 surfaces. This outside just got pushed in. Everybody with me? Go, go,
I
go.
gotta come. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Ignore it.
Everybody cool?
Yeah.
Okay. Now use your logic again. What is the volume of a hemisphere?
Wait.
it would be 4 pi r cubed over 3. Then what? Divided by 2. Ugh! One fraction scares you. What the halibut is that?
I thought.
It's fine. It's totally fine, isn't it? Because what is 4 divided by 2?
4 is 2.
2. What is 4 times 1/2?
I
2.
love how nobody says anything.
I know, right?
It's a fraction.
So, isn't dividing by 2 the same as multiplying by 1/2? So can't I take 4 pi r cubed and multiply by 1/2? What is 4 pi r cubed times 1? 4 pi r cubed. What is 3 times 2? 6. Now, in Mrs. Bad Crumble's class, would you ever leave 4 and 6 in a fraction? What would you make it? 2 pi r cubed over 3. That is a hemisphere's volume. Is everybody cool?
Wait. Where did
Now,
the volume is 4 over 3 parts cubed, but where did you get the divided by 2?
if it's a hemisphere, it's half a sphere. Now,
Add another. Okay.
question 1 here is here for 2 reasons. 1, it is to check if you understand whether you are seeking volume or surface area. And the second reason I have this question here is to see how many people can do algebra.
Algebra is so easy.
Take a minute, see if you can do number 1 without me. So I'm going to cut it in half. You try over here.
Have more money?
I know.
What if, now I look back, what was I thinking? I don't understand.
And every grown-up has a million examples of that. My kid is supposed to ride his bike to school. First week of school, he missed his first class one day. What's the logical consequence? He can't get to school on his own, so what's the consequence? I have to drive him. I have to leave at 7 a.m. So what's the logical consequence? My son now has to get up at 6 to leave at 7 a.m. with me instead of leaving at 8 a.m. when he could if he went by himself. I did that for a week. Guess what happened this week? Late for school. Guess what the logical consequence is? Another week of getting up at 6 with me. And I'll do it again next week after he screws it up again.
Well, what part is his fault?
Not getting to school. I leave at 7 a.m. I'm not in Chilliwack. He's got to get out the door and get to school on time.
So does his bike not...
His bike works fine.
Okay.
He's a moron. Diego.
Oh, is this the answer?
I don't know, is it?
I don't know.
You'll see in a moment.
Okay.
All right. So, first thing that I am checking, is this a surface area or a volume question?
Volume. Surface area, the radius...
You just keep saying both when I give you 2 choices. Which is it, Ariana? Coke or Pepsi? Pepsi. Coke. I don't know.
The radius is around. So it's the surface area.
Are you sure? Because Axel is pretty sure that it's volume. Allie, what is it? Yes, you do, because I saw you say it, and you're right. It's surface area. Because where does wrapping paper go? Around the surface. If your mom and dad buy you a PlayStation 4, do they take the PlayStation out of the box, fill it with wrapping, and give you an empty box? No! They put the wrapping around the outside. The box is filled with the PlayStation 4. So, it's surface area. Which means I am doing a surface area question. So it's 4 pi r squared. Right?
Wait.
That's the first test. The second test is to see if you can do algebra. So I have surface area equals 4 pi r squared. I know one of those 2 unknowns. Do I know the surface area or the radius?
You know the surface.
I know the surface area. So what number can I write in here?
2,500.
Where? SA or R?
SA.
SA, 2,500 equals 4 pi r squared. Now I need to find R. This is the second thing I am checking. Can you do algebra? Now stop for a moment. First, a joke. All right.
No, that's so funny.
I know it
And
was. Thank you.
immature, it's really
No, it's not immature at all. It's a great joke.
Yeah.
What makes it immature? If anything, it's a dad joke, and dads are, by definition, mature because we are older than you.
That don't mean anything.
Therefore, it is a very mature joke. Mwah! Now that was immature.
Yeah, it was.
All right. Now, okay. So next. How many of you feel, I'm going to give you 3 categories. How many of you feel you're comfortable with algebra? Okay. How many of you feel that algebra is something that you know where it lives, but you can't quite get there?
It depends.
And how many of you feel that you are living in a shack down by the river and algebra is living up on West Eagle Mountain? Okay. That's okay. We're going to do a quick review. What is the job when you have an algebra situation? Don't tell me what you do. What is your job?
To find out what R is.
Which means R is by itself, yes?
Yes.
Excellent. Does everybody know that part of algebra? Even the people living in the shack down by the river?
Yes.
Okay. So now we've already walked up the riverbank and we're walking towards West Eagle Mountain. Okay. How do I get that letter by itself?
You divide it.
No. That's what you're going to do in this question. What is the way that always works? Zach, hit me.
Yeah, you have to flip.
Hannah, you do the opposite what? Starts with an O, ends with an N, has per ratio in the middle of it. Operation. You do the opposite operation. Excellent.
So you make the
Now,
R on the other side.
if you are still a little confuzzled, I'll show you this super easy one.
Oh,
What's the answer?
you put 2 on the other side of
Why?
5.
Because
And
5
then-
minus 2 is 3.
Damn it, Joseph, you screwed it all up. Everybody says because 3 plus 2 is 5. That's not the right answer. What is the right answer, Joseph? 5 minus 2 is 3.
Yeah,
So you see a plus 2, so you do a minus 2.
and then you put the X by itself equals 3.
Algebra isn't difficult because the question tells you what to do. It is just like following instructions on a map from here to Tuktoyaktuk, Northwest Territories. If you follow that map to Tuktoyaktuk, Northwest Territories, how do you get home? No. You reverse it. If I have to turn right and left and right to get to Tuktoyaktuk, how do you get home? Left and right and left. Right? Hey, see what I did there? Woo! Crisscross going to make you jump. None of you even get that, do you?
I do. It's a song.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah.
Okay, it just never hurts to check. So, how am I going to get rid of this 4? I'm going to divide by 4 because the operation that 4 is doing is multiply. So now I have changed one side of the equation. So what must I do to the other side?
You have to do the
Same thing, or it's not going to be equal. How do I get rid of this pi? I eat it. How do I really get rid of the pi?
The time.
I divide by pi. So what do I do over here? Divide by pi. Now I have the same thing on the top, same thing on the bottom, same thing on the bottom. What do I get to do?
0, 1.
Boom, boom. Now I have R2 equals 2,500 divided by 4 pi.
4 pi.
Now right there,
That's 198.
just stop for a moment. If we were in math class and Mr. Myers doesn't care about the decimals, how do you get rid of this squared?
You do
You do the opposite of what you see. What is the opposite of squared? Square root. So I square root both sides. That gets rid of the r, or it gets rid of the 2. Now I have r equals that. Is that good enough for me in math class? Yes. Does that tell you how long the radius is? No. So now you would want to get your calculator going.
Cross multiplication?
No. But stop for a second. Because this is super difficult to do on your calculator. So let me show you this. R squared equal 2,500 divided by 4 pi, right? Yeah. So if you do that on your calculator and get a number and then square root it, you'll be in business, yes? Yeah. What is the answer? 14.1.
Oh, I just divided it to 1,500.
Is everybody cool? Yes. And that gets you r squared, and then you square root it to get the 14.1.
Root equals 14.
It's almost like I'm teaching you how to do math or something. I know. All right, listen up. You have class in here for 11 more minutes. Your job is to do attempt page 34. Right now, you can work on it with whomever you want. And then you do just page 35 and 36. Now listen to me. That is only 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 questions. And I'm giving you 10 minutes right now, plus your night time, to do 8 questions. I know you have had other math teachers that give you buttloads more than that.
What
Go.
was it that we were talking